If it is or if it ain't, it's gonna come out. Good morning, everybody. Still morning, technically. It's your girl, Miracle Sims, and you're listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. It is April the 10th, 2024, and today the topic is dying to self. Yes. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Yes, happy Wednesday. I hope you guys had a terrific Tuesday. Mine was just fine. Yeah, mine was good overall. As for yesterday, I know I got off kind of quickly and abruptly. I was telling y'all that I had some bad news from my family. We tried to place an order for lunch before I went live, and that didn't pan out. Like, I don't know what was going on with Uber Eats, but it was trippy yesterday. So much so that hubby just went to go get it ourselves. And so that was the main thing. We had some family time and whatnot. We was taking turns watching our different shows and movies and just eating, and that's pretty much what yesterday entailed. Alongside that, I did have my third day of therapy. So yes, your girl is still in the therapist, y'all. And I mean, so far so good. I mean, I feel like an hour don't seem to be enough time, because I feel like we'll start talking and then next thing I know, it time's up. So I don't know. We're gonna see about that. I'm gonna be looking into some alternative things and whatnot. But anywho, that was my highlights. Those are my main things from yesterday that is of importance, or I guess significance, to share. So here's some things, man. This dying to self. How did I get to this today? Well, one, I woke up randomly around 12:24 last night, and I made a note of it. And when I looked it up this morning and stuff, it stood out to me enough to encourage and inspire this conversation. I was going back and forth because honestly, maybe it's something I don't want to talk about because it's hitting too close to home a little bit. Maybe I'm struggling in this area of dying to self. I'm having a hard time trying to figure out what parts of me needs to die and what parts of me is still okay, and all that type of stuff. And I don't know. I guess maybe I know I'm not the only one struggling in this area with this. But yeah, I mean, obviously, things happen for a reason. I feel like everything just coincided with this part or this conversation today. And so, as I again share my journey and testimony, I hope that it will encourage and inspire you on your journey and testimony. So, are you having an issue with dying to self? I feel like I've definitely have observed people over the years that really take issue with, again, becoming more like Christ, because it's like you do feel like, again, part of yourself is going away or whatever, and then you're like, well, who am I? I know at some point I started to kind of question that and ask, okay, Lord, well, who am I? And then I know who do you want me to be, and things like that. And again, I know we're striving and doing our best to be more like Christ. However, we're not Christ, right? And so we're sitting here probably in limbo in some ways, because we're like, I still want to be me, you know what I mean? But then maybe we're not supposed to be. I don't know. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure all of that out myself. But here go a few verses that stood out to me this morning, and I hope they will encourage you and inspire you. And you guys can also check out this article that's at gotquestions.org, that you can, peruse and let marinate on your heart, souls, and minds. Yeah, man. Hopefully this will help all of us today, including me, right? So yes, dying to self. The verse that stood out to me last night, when I woke up at 12:24, is John 12:24. It says, "Truly, truly, I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit." So again, to me, again, as soon as I read that this morning, yes, I know that this is Jesus and he referring to himself dying on the cross and all the fruit that was going to bear. But it also just really resonated with me this morning, so much so, again, that I'm like, okay, Lord, you're trying to tell me I need to die to self. But at the same time, I'm trying to figure out, like, what does that mean? Because then, in the stage that I am in my life right now, like what's acceptable, what's not, it's just a lot, honestly, when you sit here try to think about it. And I don't know where you are, right? I don't know if this is resonating with you at all, but I mean, again, I'm still a miracle regardless, right? Of whether I repented or not and all these different things. So it's tough. It's been tough for me. So hearing this dying to self thing today was like, all right, Lord, well, what you want me to do? Because I'm still human out here. You know what I'm saying? You made me this way, and stuff like that. And then what does this mean? So anyway, let's get into some more verses, y'all. Galatians 5:24 says, and those who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. So crucifying the flesh with its passions and desires. I mean, obviously, again, I guess any thoughts and passions and desires of the flesh is what needs to be crucified. Now, I don't know what that means for me as a married woman. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, all right, well, Lord, does that mean I need to crucify my passions and desires, for my husband and things of that nature? I mean, is that what I need to do? That don't sound biblical to me, based on, and that's the interesting thing. Again, I feel like a lot of people come to Christ and then they talk about all these quote unquote earthly passions, desires, and things that we must give up. And I get it. The word is clear about, again, crucifying the flesh and passions and desires. But at the same time, again, there's joy and all kinds of things that God has put into place that gives pleasure. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like I said, I know I'm struggling with this. You know what I'm saying? I'm struggling with getting a full, I guess, revelation or whatnot, because again, I don't believe in accordance to God and his word and the world that he's put us in. Like he has so many beautiful things for us to enjoy, including, yes, one another, food, all the things, right? And so to sit here and be like, oh, well, God don't want you to, enjoy and be happy and find peace and love and joy, and all that type of stuff and enjoy life is, I feel like, not even an accurate depiction of who God is and what he's created. Like, I think he wants us to enjoy each and everything that he has created, Um, now, there's stipulations, sure. Again, we talk about sex all the time on here, so let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's very clear that he has that for marriage, right? And not for, outside of marriage, right? He has it between a man and a woman and not for any other alternative thing that we can think of, but again, I don't, where's the balance, right? And I think that's where I'm struggling, because it's like I'm trying to figure out what the balance is to, again, still be, godly, live this righteous life, whatever the case may be, but then also, enjoy the fruits of, God's labor at the end of the day, enjoy the things that he's created. So and I don't know. I think perhaps, again, this could be a trick of the enemy to leave us in confusion about these things, because, um, if you're sitting here struggling every day thinking like, oh, everything I do is bad, everything I want is bad, everything I want is, then you're just beating yourself up and you're not living the godly life and freedom that God has given us. So again, I feel like there is a happy medium and balance in what God is asking of us. But I ain't too sure about how, what what and how that is. Again, I'm just one human trying to sit here and study and figure it all out. But if anybody else can, sow some seeds of encouragement and things of that nature, or you have a little bit more wisdom beyond me, feel free to comment below and things like that and help us out. But yeah, there's definitely something to dying to self. I mean, we can't let our passions and desires and things overtake us. We can see clearly what that looks like in life. Matter of fact, I saw something this morning, and I shared it on our social media on the God, Sex, and Love Facebook, because, I don't get too many people asking me questions about like, why you got God, Sex, and Love, and like I see little, I still notice that sometimes I might not get responses when I invite people, stuff like that, but nobody's like coming from me and being like, you know, why are you doing this? You know what I'm saying? At least not yet. Who knows? But anyway, I guess the more we expand and grow, who knows? I'm sure there might be a lot of conflict in that area or more. But and like I said, I mean, y'all probably have noticed over the years, I have felt like I need to defend, different things, including GSL, and help people understand like the purpose, because again, I think sometimes people just see it and then they're like, you know what I mean? Or they might be turned off by whatever, just the title alone. And it's like, well, come and see what we do here. And then you'll get a, understanding. At the end of the day, anybody that sees the content, they know that I'm not just sitting here talking about sex all the time. But at the same token, my whole thing was like, we're going to talk about it though. You know what I mean? And so speaking of that, I saw this article this morning and it was saying that a pastor's son killed the children's director at their church. I guess after some type of dispute that the pastor's son was sleeping with the children's director's wife or something like that. Listen, y'all don't want to talk about sex in the church. Y'all don't want to sit here and be open and honest and transparent about again the things that God has put in place and stuff, and have the conversation when things like this is happening. This is a result of us not addressing the issues, yes, of sex, but then also again of God's word and what He's asking of us. At the end of the day, are we going to be believers or not? You know what I mean? Are we going to read the Bible and take it for what it is and live accordingly or not? That's the question that we all should be asking ourselves. So again, I'm not sitting here trying to act like I'm perfect. I just told y'all I'm struggling with this dying to self, I think, in some ways, because I'm trying to figure out, like, am I dying to myself, or am I appeasing myself, like, or what, I'm trying to figure it out as well. But I'm not going to sit here and like brush over it. At the end of the day, like, if I didn't come through the juice about this, I feel like that would have been me trying to I guess stay in my quote unquote sin or hide or whatever the case may be. At least I'm being open, honest, and transparent, that I know that I'm human out here and I'm confused about some of this stuff, but at the same time, I do want to please the Lord, and I believe that He knows my heart, and I know, and I ain't trying to use that as an excuse or whatever, but obviously, again, He has grace and mercy for each and every one of us in whatever way that we may be falling. But anywho, so Luke 9:23, it says, and He said to all, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. So, I mean, again, like, let's just talk about that scenario. I don't know those individuals or anything like that, but let's just say it's like, if all of those people had of picked up their cross and followed Christ, then one, the infidelity in the marriage wouldn't have happened. Okay. Two, the what is it, the fornication between the pastor's son and the child director's wife wouldn't have happened. Two different sins already, like the infidelity and then the fornication. Then the altercation and whatnot between the husband and the pastor's son, that wouldn't have happened in regards to following Christ on how to deal with anger and things of that nature. And then ultimately, the death of the children's director and whatnot. I mean, again, the Bible's very clear that sin leads towards death. And again, it can be the spiritual death and all of that. It can be the death of, again, of you and your purpose and things of that nature. It doesn't have to always be physical, but sometimes ultimately it will lead to the physical, right? So these are all things to think about. Let's take up our cross and follow Christ. Now, again, I do think we got to figure out what that means and stop trying to like be like Pharisees and Sadducees and put extra on it. Like, no, be like Christ. At the end of the day, He enjoyed a good meal. He had a glass of wine. He obviously, went and mixed and mingled with people and things of that nature. Who knows? He probably danced and sang. You know what I'm saying? Now, of course, I guess we know that He wasn't having no sex because He wasn't married. But outside of that, it seemed like He enjoyed life for the most part. I mean, so, but hey, I don't know. I wasn't there, and everything didn't get documented about exactly every single thing He did. But I mean, at least the majority of those things that I said are written about. Again, having a meal and doing all of that type of stuff. So, again, we can seek the Lord about what this means truly, instead of like trying to again put extra weight on people that God don't even put on us. But this does not exclude you or me, right, from having to die to self in whatever way it is that the Lord wants us to. So that's ultimately the juice this morning. I ain't got too much to add to that. I'm going to go ahead and share the Bible verse of the day, and that is Titus 2:11-12. It says, "For the grace of God that bringeth salvation hath appeared to all men, teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lusts, we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present world." Friends, I hope you all enjoyed this juice this morning. If listen, if this word ain't confirmation, I don't know what it is, because again, all of this, even the Bible verse of the day, was established after I had went through my journey and all that type of stuff, and broke down these verses for the juice. You guys can go deeper about this. Check out that article that's over there at gotquestions.org. It's called "What does the Bible mean by dying to self?" I think there's another article on there as well that talks about Paul. You can go deeper about that one as well if you want to. But yeah, man, yeah, let's do our part, man, and humble ourselves before the Lord and figure this out. And yeah, like I said, that's the juice. Y'all have a great Wednesday, and I look forward to talking to y'all tomorrow if the Lord's will. Bye bye.
This episode was brought to you in part by Ava Justin, the host of the Ava Talk, where entrepreneurship, entertainment, and empowerment collide. Join her journey of faith, wisdom, and inspiration at theavatalk.com.